7.1, Brian Connolly, ATU Canada. Just a reminder, you have 5 minutes. Thank you. Take your time getting to the post.
Thank you. My name is Brian Connolly. I'm an executive board member with ATU Local 113 and a representative of ATU Canada. I'm here today to discuss option 5 that is not being put forward by city staff in their report to you today, and I'm asking that you please consider option 5, keep transit public, where both operations and maintenance are kept under the City of Hamilton control, with the operations and maintenance performed by Hamilton Street Railway. We believe it's time to put rail back into Hamilton Street Railway with option 5, keep transit public, where Hamilton City Council can hold HSR accountable for service and maintenance instead of City Council being frustrated with getting excuses and lack of accountability from Metrolinx and its P3 maintenance contractors. The Ottawa Confederation Line LRT is a design, build, finance, maintain public-private partnership P3 contract where OC Transpo operates the LRT, and the City of Ottawa pays the private maintenance consortium $5 million a month to maintain the LRT. The Ottawa LRT has been a colossal failure and should be a warning to all other cities and municipalities in Ontario, including the City of Hamilton. The Ottawa LRT has been in revenue service less than 4 years after opening 465 days late, and has been plagued with failures, derailments, and has been out of service many times, ranging from 4.5 days to 3 months, leaving OC Transpo scrambling to adjust their bus fleet scheduling to supplement the LRT route with buses, leaving the rest of City of Ottawa and its suburbs with severely reduced service and overcrowded buses. The horrors of Ottawa LRT include 2 derailments within 1 month of each other that caused significant damage to tracks and a station platform that caused the LRT to be out of service for almost 3 months. Power lines that were damaged by a lightning strike that took 4.5 days to repair and remained out of service during that time. And a power line damaged by freezing rain in January 2023 that stranded trains mid-route and took 6 days to repair the LRT out of service the entire time. The latest LRT service failure, which has been ongoing since Monday, July 17th at 5 p.m., was a result of Transport Canada shutting down the LRT due to a wheel bearing failure, which they believe resulted in a previous derailment and will remain out of service for at least another week. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada and the Ottawa City Auditor have been very critical of Alstom and its P3 maintenance contractors' staffing levels, quality of training, and lack of quality control on repairs and inspection. In 2023, the Ottawa LRT was out of service for a total of 27 days, 14 hours as of 10 a.m. today. There have been 206 days to date in 2003. That means the Ottawa LRT has been out of service for 13.4% of 2023. When have you ever heard of the TTC in Toronto subway that is publicly owned, operated, and publicly maintained being out of service for 13.4% of the current year, or out of service ranging from 4.5 days to 3 months? Never. The City of Ottawa Council is bound by a 30-year P3 maintenance contract and have no power to hold the P3 maintenance consortium accountable, either financially or contractually, to achieve targeted service and safety levels that were contractually agreed upon, because of the lack of maintenance and number of mechanical failures that are enormous. The Ottawa LRT has been plagued with so many accidents and service failures that on December 16, 2021, the Ontario Transportation Minister, Caroline Mulroney, ordered a public inquiry into the continuous maintenance failures and the entire P3 maintenance contract. The findings of the public inquiry were jaw-dropping. The findings concluded that Alstom cannot be trusted to maintain the LRT, and Alstom's maintenance staffing levels and training were severely insufficient to provide the type of quality and safety that is required in public transportation. And P3 maintenance contracts handcuffs Ottawa City Council into the contract, even though maintenance and service standards are not being met. The Eglinton Crosstown in Toronto is another colossal P3 failure. The Eglinton Crosstown was supposed to cost $5.3 billion and is now ballooned to over $13 billion. The Eglinton Crosstown is now 3 years past the original completion date and will not open until at least 2024, and that's not even a firm date. The Eglinton Crosstown P3 Consortium Crosslinks has taken Metrolinx to court 3 times, now claiming a third time a dispute between TTC, who will operate the crosstown, and the P3 contractor that will maintain it, because TTC's operating and maintenance standards are much greater than the private sector. Toronto Council's passed several motions asking City Manager to demand answers from Metrolinx and as to the reason of the delays, and Metrolinx refuses to respond. We say we need to keep transit public. We need HSR to operate and maintain the Ottawa LRT, and we hope that you today in your subcommittee report consider that option and have HSR be accountable to Hamilton City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Connolly. Before I entertain any questions, I'd like to recognize Mayor Andrea Horvath, who has joined us this morning. Good morning, Mayor Horvath. Anyone on the speakers list? I recognize Councillor Nan.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, a quick question to Delegate Connolly. Thank you for your delegation. I was wondering if you could comment or respond to, in the report, there is clarity provided in the overview that Metrolinx is recommending that maintenance be held within the third party from the perspective of having accountability from the third party as they're responsible for construction and the procurement of vehicles. Could you speak to that in terms of accountability? Don't you think that if we're going to have a third party responsible for those aspects, that they should be responsible also for ongoing maintenance and accountability?
Delegate Connolly, please.
That's the problem that City of Ottawa and the City of Toronto are having right now. In Ottawa, they pay $5 million a month in maintenance fees. And the Ottawa LRT, even though they're paying the $5 million a month, has been a colossal failure. It's been unsafe, and it's been out of service more than it's actually been in service over the last 4 years. So where's the accountability in that? And you end up in court. So the taxpayers of the City of Hamilton end up paying legal fees on top of the maintenance fees. And what are we getting for it? No service. Then you have to steal buses from other routes to supplement the LRT route. So now your other communities are now suffering lack of service on the bus routes. So it cripples the entire transit system. So where's the accountability in that? The Eglinton Crosstown in Toronto is another disaster. City Council of Toronto has passed motions asking Metrolinx for answers. Why is it taking 12 years? We built the railway across Canada in 4. So why is it taking 12 years? And they're not getting any answers at all. Metrolinx says private consortium contract privilege bounds them for not divulging what the issues are.
Thank you, Delegate.
That's the accountability. As councillors, how do you then go back to your constituents and say, I don't know?
Thank you, Delegate. Councillor Nan.
Thank you. That was my question.
Thank you very much. I see no further. Oh, beg your pardon. Guest Andrus, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, Delegate, I'm wondering if you can help us unpack a little bit the design, build, finance, maintain model in Ottawa that is also the subject of staff recommendation option 4, there being no option 5 that includes both operation and maintenance. So the Rideau Transit Group, if I understand it, is the design, build, finance, maintain consortium that runs it. They contracted out the maintenance to the Rideau Transit Maintenance Group, who then in turn subcontracted that to Alstream. Is that correct?
Alstom and SNC-Lavalin, yes.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of that accountability piece that you were talking about, ultimately for this body, which is the LRT subcommittee, which will ultimately be hearing from concerned residents when and if our system doesn't operate correctly, how does those various contractors and subcontractors report back to the City of Ottawa in terms of accountability or in terms of answers?
Actually, if you actually look at the public inquiry that happened in Ottawa, there is no communication. There's blame. Blame against each other. You didn't have this in the contract. You didn't tell us this. You didn't tell us that. The public inquiry, if you go to the City of Ottawa, public inquiry that for the LRT that Caroline Maroney ordered into, the findings were released November 30th of 2022. And it was just astounding. Metrolinx, I believe his name is Brian Fish, or Fishbox. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. He was profited very largely off of it. He was with a private consortium, and then he ended up working for Metrolinx, making a lot of money off Metrolinx.
I just want to remind the delegates that if you're referencing someone and they're not here, that would be problematic, and I don't think it's in order.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And if you could, in the future, all delegates, just ensure that you make your comments or questions through the chair. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
So you spoke of the public commission. So one of the chief findings of that public commission was that the delivery model chosen by the city left the city with literally little control over the RTG group, which is the top level subcontractor. Can you speak to what the City of Hamilton can do differently to avoid the issues that have been plaguing Ottawa and Toronto?
Yes. The reason why we suggesting option 5 is the City Council employs HSR. They employ their managers, they employ their maintenance staff. City Council, through the HSR CEO and managers, decide what the staffing levels of the maintenance is going to be. That is one of the key findings of the public inquiry in Ottawa, that the staffing levels of Alstom are so low that they cannot deal with significant major issues, such as ice on a power line that knocked a power line down. Why would it take 6 days to repair a power line to get the system up and running again? It's because of lack of sufficient staffing. Because don't forget, private corporations are there for profit. They're not there to provide a service, and they're not there for safety.
Final question. Thank you, Chair, for your patience. So speaking of those maintenance activities, would it, in your opinion, through the Chair, as a subject matter expert on P3s, end up costing the City of Ottawa more by using this design, build, finance, maintain model that's being proposed for the City of Hamilton? Yes.
The original proposal of how P3s, which now the Ontario government calls alternative finance procurement, they changed the name because P3s have such a bad name. The original design was to hold the private contractor financially responsible for any delivery failures, service failures, or even project completion delays. But that doesn't happen. The perfect example is what's happening in Ottawa. And that opened 465 days late, the Ottawa LRT. In Toronto, right now, it's 3 years overdue. And Crosslinks has actually taken Metrolinx to court 3 times already and sued them for more money. The original cost of that project when concepted was $5.3 billion. Now the Eglinton Crosstown project has ballooned to over $13 billion. So where's the accountability? Who's being held accountable? The taxpayers are paying for it.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you, Delegate.
Thank you.
I'd like to call